Me. Hi. Yes, we're finally back on the desk. So you can probably tell it's not in the same spot. Um, you're actually on the left side of my room, but we're we're just gonna stick with it now because it's a lot more stable than being on my bed. As you can probably tell by the curtain over here, I was recording everything in my bed up to this point. So actually clearing the space and also having a lamp because okay, that's decently bright. I don't know if I'm going to use this that often, but um it's just great that I finally organized my crap. And disregard the absolute mess that is my closet, okay? We don't talk about it. But I wanted to make this because I was gonna make a really, I was gonna break down the videos for Assassin's Creed Mirage and Avatar's Frontiers of Pandora, the trailers that came out earlier this week. But I saw my clips. In total, they're like 20 minutes, and I did not want to make a video that was that long. So I'm just going to condense my points in terms of what I thought about the trailers. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not that excited with Ubisoft's next couple of games. There's something about Ubisoft that has gotten to the point that I can't stand their games anymore. Maybe it's the allegations that came through, maybe it's just the formula that they forked to the point that games are getting canceled like 2 years after, or just games that got shut down and aren't getting updates. But I've just had these games out of favor for me. Like, this company is just, I think I've grown out of it at this point. So let's get started with Mirage. Mirage, biggest claim to fame right now is that it's going back to basics, right? We're getting back to the roots of Assassin's Creed. We're going back into how the series became so great, and that in itself is fine. But the problem is that, well, there's a decent amount of problems. The biggest one is the legacy that's been left because of the games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You can also include Origins as well because it kind of started the trend a little bit, though Origins is excusable because that game was actually pretty good. Now, the thing about Origins is that at the time it was unique because there was this sort of overhaul with the gameplay, a massive overhaul, and like it or hate it, it worked for the game. There were RPG elements. I don't know how to feel about that. I really don't like it, like, at all. Which contradicts what I said previously. Bear with me. And then it got worse in Odyssey and Valhalla because you get absolute damage sponges for enemies and bosses. And also, being an assassin was completely sidelined in Odyssey, from what I've seen, because you don't play as an assassin necessarily. You're playing as a Spartan mercenary, from what I understand it. But you know, we're going back to the roots of being an assassin, so we're back with the hidden ones. They're bringing some stuff back. The bureaus, which have been around in the very first game, they came back, and as Origins implies, the origins of the bureaus also came to be. So it's really cool to see that it's back to being part of a network of the Assassin Order. But another thing that is throwing me off is the parkour and the UI. The UI is a dead giveaway that we're retaining the engine and the structure that Origins through Valhalla have had, and that needs to go. We have certain things coming back, and I will get into those, but just the fact that we're building off of the structure that was left in the prior 3 games, it's already a big turnoff for me, and it might be the reason that I'm not getting that game. And then I saw a bit of the parkour. Again, it's very linear, just like the prior 3 games. Compare that to Unity. Unity has been stated to have the best parkour in the entire series, and I agree to a certain extent, but playing it now, it's a little difficult. Maybe I got spoiled based off of Dying Light 2, you could argue that. But Unity it honestly doesn't feel as fluid as some people claim for it to be. Maybe it's the fact that it's a relatively old game, but I will say that the game visually has aged well, really well in fact, and Mirage looks like it might excel in that, if not be on par with it. But still, I kind of wish that they expanded on the movement, because right now I'm not sold. The other thing that they brought back, of course, classic Eagle Vision, along with the Eagle Vision that's been retained from Origins through Valhalla, which I don't know how to feel. I think it would have been better, because we saw the system that they have in place where you can use your actual eagle to hover, and now there's not snipers, but there's like sharpshooters, I guess, that will attack your eagle, and they're going to keep you from using it for recon. Honestly, the way that I would have gone through with it is I would have the eagle be the basis for the classic Eagle Vision, and if it's being shot at, I can't use Eagle Vision. That's how I would have done it. I think that would have been a better system to have. Not just to change things up a bit, but it also makes it so that you have to pay attention to certain areas in a fortress per se, so that you can retain a tool, or so that you know that you can use a certain tool. Because Eagle Vision is one of the things that has not been taken away, like the classic one at least, compared to games like the Batman Arkham series. Because in the Batman Arkham series, there's an enemy, at least in the later games, there's an enemy that's specifically built to counter detective vision, and you have to take him out in order to retain it, in order to get it back. And that's what I'm kind of going off of, where they could have had the marksman, there's his name. The marksman could have been the basis to have classic Eagle Vision, and if he's there, you can't use it. That's how I would have done it. I also saw that contracts are in the game, along with side objectives for them, which could be pretty interesting, because side objectives were a main reason that some people would or would not have 100% in earlier games. I think it started in either Revelations or in... what is that second Assassin's Creed game? It'll pop up on screen. But I remember doing the side missions or the side objectives in at least Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and that was pretty decent. It was a nice challenge. So I kind of hope that they have that for the main game, and just having the contract system that they have in place, I think is great, because it kind of felt a little weird seeing that you have to go to these pigeon coops in Black Flag for the assassination contracts. It kind of felt like freelancing, if anything else. Just a little bit. And then we have the tool system that they have in place, where, you know, you have your traps. They might have the coin pouch, I'm not really sure. And they have the throwing knives and the sleep darts. I'm kind of glad that they have that system, because Origins was extremely clunky, I guess, in the sense that you had to go into the equipment menu in order to swap out fire bombs, sleep darts, poison darts, etc. So I'm glad that they are changing that. And also the tools are pretty cool, at least in use from what I've seen in the trailer. So Mirage does look good. It looks decent, at least. Of course, them bringing back legacy things like instant assassinations, social stealth, and the classic Eagle Vision, of course, is welcome changes, as one would expect. But just the way that movement is handled, and no doubt the way that the equipment is going to be handled, like, I'm sure that it's going to retain RPG mechanics where you have to constantly switch out gear. I hope that I'm wrong, but who knows. I did appreciate that you could upgrade your equipment in Origins, but you could still get some of the same stuff. So that's disappointing. So I don't know how to feel about Mirage. Even less for the Avatar game that Ubisoft is developing, because from what I've seen, it looks like it's, if Dying Light was meeting with Far Cry, and they had a baby. Gameplay wise, that's what this game looks like it's going to come out to be. And the other thing about Frontiers of Pandora, especially from what I've seen, is you just can't even match the fidelity of the movies. Like, you can't match that quality. It's just not possible, because Avatar was built to be a technical marvel, like, genuinely. It's the reason that we have certain innovations in CGI today, even in the second movie. But just looking at the trailer, you can spot areas where the draw distance isn't enough to render in certain things that are at a very far distance, which looks really terrible when the trailer goes to a high spot and you look over the horizon. You can see where the grass and stuff cuts off. It's not looking good. And then some people might ask, well, why do you say that the gameplay looks like if Dying Light had a love child with Far Cry? Because there's gunplay and bowplay, I guess, that is very similar to Far Cry, but the movement looks like it's emulating Dying Light, especially with you know, the small animation with the hands when you're running, and also the fact that in Dying Light 2 at least, you have these lines that you can immediately shoot yourself up. Now, I will say that it's kind of smart that they're using the biology of Pandora, or the botany of Pandora rather, in order to contextualize that. That's pretty smart. And it was a nice callback to see the plants that instantly retract when you touch them. But Avatar might be a decently big flop, at least from what I'm seeing. Some people did point out the way that the game looks, and it's not looking good for that. No pun intended, but I just can't help but feel a little distraught at that. And it kind of sucks, because Avatar I actually like, despite what other people might believe. So yeah, that's kind of about it. Mirage and Frontiers of Pandora are in a bit of a murky situation in my eyes, and time will only tell if they're going to be either massive successes or massive failures. So it's too early to say. We'll have to wait and see. But even still, I'm going to try to keep up with both games just to make sure I can solidify my opinions. And hey, if I'm wrong, they turn out to be fun, I'm wrong. I'll admit to that. But it's just, I don't know. This gaming in general has been a little mediocre. I mean, we've already seen the releases of Jedi Survivor and other games like Forspoken, but I don't know. We're in a tight spot. Capcom and EA Motive are doing their work though, with their remakes on RE4 and Dead Space respectively. Now, I have not tried the Dead Space remake. I have the original one on Steam, but it looks, and from what I've seen, it plays pretty well, and I have to give props. Not only that, but the developer logs, the playlist that they have where they break down the game bit by bit, that to me is really fucking cool, because, well, you can probably tell from my shirt that I'm an A-Tech, as I might have discussed before on this channel. And just seeing the way that developers are breaking down their processes, it really helps out somebody like me. So to the people that were hosting all those videos, thank you, like, genuinely. And also RE4, great game. I finished it a while ago, as some of you might already know, and while some things might be inconsistent, like the perfect parry, it still has a decent variety of weapons. It has a good variety of encounters. The story is pretty decent, if a little cheesy, but that's the charm of it. And Leon is an extremely goofy badass. Like, more so depressed, understandably so, because, you know, because of what happened in Resident Evil 2. But he is still really fun to watch. Think of it like this, and this is going to make a lot of sense for people that are in the know. Dante and Leon are in the same park. Yes, Devil May Cry is Dante. Except Dante is much goofier than Leon. That's kind of the way to see it. And for those who aren't in the know, the Devil May Cry series originally started from early concepts for Resident Evil 4, which for some people that are looking at it now, they might understand. And it's kind of cool because now I have 2 franchises from Capcom that I genuinely like. And I might go over the Devil May Cry games one day. I really want to do it, but A, I need a decent amount of time for it. Not to say that I don't have it, I just need to get my shit together. And B, I probably need a stronger computer. I have 8 gigs of RAM on the one that I'm using right now, but I have my eyes set on one that's 20 gigs of RAM, and I need that power so that I can consistently record at 60 frames, which is necessary because the Devil May Cry games are really renowned for not just their gameplay but also their performance. And that's also another thing about Resident Evil 4, with the exception of using scopes of any kind, the game runs at 60 frames, I'm pretty sure, on my PS4. Yes, I still have one of those. I'm so depressed that I don't have a PS5. Let's get over it. But yes, if you haven't already, play Resi 4, play the Dead Space remake. Let me know what you think. And if you want, just play the rest of the series, except for 2. But yeah, that's kind of about it. Per usual, there's always going to be a sideline of stuff, but again, cautiously optimistic about well, not cautiously optimistic, I'm just a little concerned about how Ubisoft is going to handle Assassin's Creed Mirage and Frontiers of Pandora, and some recommendations, I guess, on some games, as well as a brief touch up on the current state of games, because it is kind of depressing and it feels like we hit our peak a long time ago and we're at a depression at the moment. So